So the candidates for this award, for the Bailout Award, the first was Mr. Ackermann. The relations of power are demonstrated quite pleasantly here. 20% credit, yeah, fine, no problem. AIG was one contender. That's a secondary financer and securities. And they financed lots of the public building measures, so secondary refinancing of the building of roads, etc. So that allowed AIG to save a lot of taxes. And if AIG had gone bankrupt, a lot of streets would no longer be able to be driven on. So that was the justification of the bailout. And then if we look at where the money went that was used in this bailout, it was used primarily in giving money to the banks, so Société Générale, and number two was Goldman Sachs, a name that you can note. What's interesting about this Geschichte is about this story is that AIG
they took charge of all that radioactive financial waste, and of course the first thing they do with the bailout money is have a huge party and bribe politicians and all that. So these bonds that we're talking about, it's always hard to imagine. What does the bond actually look like? Here's an example. At the Italian-Swiss border, two old Japanese people, a married couple was picked up with 134 billion in US Treasury bonds. Just to compare it, AIG bailout, the same magnitude, and this is what it looks like in paper. And now think, this is so bizarre. You think this is only happening once. This only happens once in life. But a few months later, another case, 100 billion, Switzerland again. We thought, why? Why? It's a classic case. We wanted to know. We went on the research. And
we have a video of this.
$100 billion.
Also unseren Recherchen nach handelt es sich
according to our research, it's
ja. Wir waren ja noch beim Franz-Josef Strauß, und der Gewinner ist
Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs, our next example.
So we're showing the Goldman Sachs, and this is the new headquarters for Goldman Sachs that was built primarily based on tax holder money, and they got special financiation. And first of all, because it's New York, and second, because the area of New York is affected, and it's like area of ground zero. So the mayor was basically forced to build this building for $1 million or $1 billion, and the value is 10 billion. So if you look at this more detail, you see it goes up until September, mid-December, October. So we researched a bit what happened there, and turned out Obama said the crisis is over. We don't need more stimulus here. Yeah. So, yes, from $50 to about $130 it went up. That's what the bailout was. And Goldman Sachs positioned themselves cleverly. One of those ex-managers who is now enforcement delegate of the American stock market people. And there's a new insider scandal as well from this organization that is supposed to solve those issues. And they got the biggest bonus payments of their 140-year company history with respect to crisis and stuff. And well, so there's a few other stories with front running and so, and the current finance minister in the U.S. So it's pure.
They demanded that the design of the building is actually an up yours finger. There also was there wasn't also the bailout. You also get, of course, you get a lot of bribes and stuff, and you've got to be a little dumb if not. And there's a lot of German companies that have the same problem, so they need specialists and good people. And the company Siemens, there's one of the competence centers in Germany for the topic of corruption and fight against it. And you have to get specialists for that. And you got bailout specialist, and who's that? That's Theo Weigel. Theo Weigel is is former finance minister of Germany, and if there's one person who knows things about bribing, it's probably him. And Siemens, you think, fighting corruption, who could do that better than Siemens? And so Microsoft got people from Siemens to fight their own corruption.
So with all that corruption fighting, of course, there's not that much money left. And here's a photo from the depths of Siemens somewhere. A new loo cover is planned for the 2011 budget. So, as we said, it's difficult to find good staff these days. And we heard some rumors about a new competence team in the world government about finance and location, reviving the financial locations. And here are our candidates. Someone who really knows about numbers. Then we have someone who really has a lot of money, and someone who knows about numbers as well. This number plate, by the way, is not photoshopped. It's the vice chairman of Merrill Lynch who uses that bank. And so obviously our candidate number 3. So as there's not that much money left, so people said, well, we'll have to get the economy going, get more taxes in, and how better can you get more taxes in than by selling cars? The problem was cars were not getting sold. They were just standing around and not getting sold. Who wants so ugly cars anyway? So what was there to do? So they had to solve problems. We heard about the car scrappage scheme, but that was only what was communicated to the outside. There were other approaches too, very innovative, which we want to award now. Austria, for example, the Austrian army had an exercise at a motorway, an Autobahn, in which they fired a lot of fog grenades, and that led to the biggest mass accident pileup on that motorway ever in Austrian history.
The Netherlands are always in front when it's about creative problem solving. So everyone is helping here, not just the government, every single person. So they just started pushing cars in the river. This is very especially convenient for very small cars, like the smart card. Then there's also the solution in Berlin. And the Americans have their own solution, like just closed productions, very good security concepts as well, of course. We asked where did they get this idea from, and FIFA found out. And actually, they found their idol in Scandinavia. Okay, so the cars are just standing around on the parking lots. So we ask ourselves the question, where are the ships? And the ships are actually in Singapore. and they are just sleeping there. So you can actually